We are looking at transversal angle pair relationships notes today. We're first going to talk about a transversal. We see that here. A transversal is, sorry about that, is a line that intersects two or more coplanar lines at two different points. And don't get confused by that definition. All it really means there is okay, sorry about that. Let me start over here. Okay, two or more coplanar points or lines at two different points. What we're talking about there is just a transversal is the blue line intersecting two other lines at 2 points. So we're just talking about two lines that are intersected by another line. Okay, we have a few definitions that we're going to be looking at, and we're going to relate them to this. Get that out of there. Relate them to this diagram that we have over here to the right. When we're talking about interior lines, we are talking about the lines in between, or I'm sorry, let me back up. When we're talking about interior angles, we're talking about the angles that are in between the lines. So looking at our diagram, we've got our transversal, which is T. This line is our transversal. And these are the two lines that are being intersected by the transversal. So the angles in between these two lines, Q and R, are going to be angles 3, angles 4, angles 5, and 6. Now we can imagine if the interior angles are in between the lines, then we're probably going to be pretty safe to say that the exterior angles are the angles outside the lines. So if we're looking at this same situation, the exterior angles are going to be angles 1, 2, 7, and 8. Because we see there that the interior is in between, we're talking about this space. So these four angles are interior, while the exterior is outside of those two lines, which would be 8, 7, 1, and 2. Okay. Let's back up here. Or let me clear some of this up right here so we can see it a little bit better. Okay, next we're going to be looking at, and you're going to have to be careful in this vocabulary, we're talking about consecutive interior angles. Consecutive, you may also see that or talked about as same side. So if we're talking about interior angles, we're still going to be looking at these angles that are in between the lines. Consecutive would be same side. For instance, 5 and 4 are interior angles on the same side of the transversal. So a pair of consecutive interior angles would be 4 and 5. Another pair would be on the other side. 3 and 6 would also be examples of consecutive interior angles or same side interior. If we're talking about same side exterior, we would be talking about angles on the same side but that are exterior. 1 and 8 would be an example. Two and 7 would be another example of a pair of same side exterior angles. Okay, let's delete this to talk about the next section of the notes. Alternate interior angles. We're talking now about interior angles that are on opposite sides, alternate sides. So an example of this would be angle 4 because it's interior, and angle 6. So that would be a pair of alternate interior angles. Another pair would be 5 and 3. 5 and 3 would be a pair of alternate interior. So we can pretty much guess what would be alternate exterior. We would be talking about exterior angles on alternate sides of the transversal. So 1 and 7 would be an example there. And then we would also have 2 and 8 would be another example. Okay, now in regards to corresponding angles, if I was to draw a box around these angles right here, and I said, which angle is in the upper right hand corner, we would say angle 2 and angle 6. Well, these two angles are corresponding angles. They are angles that correspond in relationship to the transversal. So another pair of corresponding angles would be, let me just circle that, 2 and 6. Another pair would be 1 and 5. Another pair would be 8 and 4. And the last pair would be 3 and 7. Okay, these are all pairs of corresponding angles. Looking at the last section of the notes for today, we see that P is a transversal in our diagram, and there are 3 lines. However, when dealing with 2 angles, we're going to only be looking at 2 of those lines. So we're looking at angle 4 and angle 5. Notice here is angle 4 and here is angle 5. Now, what does that mean about line L? Where does this fit into the picture? We really don't have to pay any attention to this line. We're right now focused on the transversal and these 2 lines, and specifically angle 4 and angle 5. Well, we notice that they are in between these 2 lines, which makes them interior. We also notice they are on the same side of the transversal, which means they are consecutive or same side interior angles. Okay, now looking at 7 and 9. Again, we're going to only be looking at the lines involved in this situation. For instance, we've got our transversal, and 7 and 9 dealing with these 2 lines. Here is 7 and here is 9. One's interior, one is exterior. Angle 9 is the interior angle, 7 is the exterior. This actually, they're both in the lower left-hand section of, if we were talking about it that way. So these are actually corresponding angles. Okay, and 2 more to look at. Now the next one gets a little tricky because of the 2 lines that we're looking at. 4 and 7 4 and 7, we're looking at these lines, and we're looking at angle 4 and angle 7. Notice they're exterior. They are outside of these two lines. They are also on opposite sides. We have angle 4 here and angle 7 here. So this is actually, they are on alternate sides. So that is alternate. And I meant to write that above. That's alternate exterior. And then the last one in our notes today, we're looking at classify the relationship between angle 2 and angle 11. This is the one actually I was thinking about when I was talking about it's a little bit more difficult. We've got our transversal, we've got angle 2 and angle 11. That means this line, we don't even have to pay any attention to it. So we've got angle 2 here, and we've got angle 11 here. Notice they are inside of these two lines, so they're interior. They are on alternate sides of the transversal, so we call this alternate interior. Okay, this is a kind of a quick look at the types of angle pair relationships that we have when looking at transversals. Tomorrow we'll be looking at how parallel lines and transversals affect more angle pair relationships.